Show probably up 5:15, 5:20. We'll replay Iowa State AD Jamie Pollard for earlier this week. Really interesting interview. Really interesting guy. Really passionate guy. Someone who, again, I would not mind if somebody like that was the Big 12 president, because he's a fighter, and that's what the Big 12 needs. That's what the NCAA needs. It's a fighter. Somebody who's going to, fight, like do what's right and like have principles. They didn't have that for the last few years. So we had a great interview with Jamie Pollard from Iowa State the other day, and really enjoy it. So I think if you missed it, we'll replay it again for you. But it was really cool to talk to him the other day.
Yeah, he was really good and did not hold back in his criticisms of the NCAA and of just college sports in general right now. He let his feelings be known on kind of how it's all operating. And you're bringing up commissioner this, commissioner that. I mean, another note from the day was Lawrence Chavanik passing along that the top athletic honors for male and females are now going to be renamed the Bob Bowlsby Awards. That was another note, along with the revenue and the announcement about the president coming in July. So the little tip of the cap to Bob Bowlsby on his way out, and it will be interesting to see how he's viewed years from now. I know that there's split opinions just in Baylor fans alone, much less how most everybody else feels, but I do give him a little dap for at least saving face there at the end and bringing 4 teams into the fold and basically preventing a full-on Titanic situation, which is what it looked like there for a while after Oklahoma and Texas basically became an iceberg, and the dead of night had no idea they were about to get hit, but the Big 12 got hit in a major way, and they took on water, and Bowlsby guided them to safety somehow or another. So he deserves credit for that, even if you feel like he didn't always do everything perfectly. You also have to remember that he's dealing with egos. It's not as simple as just going into a room with all these school presidents and these athletic directors and just telling them what they're going to do. It's quite the opposite. And everybody's got their own agenda, clearly. While they were operating on a Big 12 agenda, the same people in those meetings were sitting there negotiating an SEC exit simultaneously. So that breaking of trust, would have been hard for a lot of people to overcome, but he didn't sit and wallow in his feelings. He just got to work, and the conference is going to live on as a result of that. So I do commend him for his quick action and for his quick decision making. And so they're gonna name the awards for Bob Bowlsby, and he's stepping down here pretty soon. I guess we'll bid him totally adieu in July when this new commissioner is announced. Yeah, and he'll be remembered like he probably upped his grade considerably. I mean, definitely upped his grade considerably at the end, but I mean, maybe probably do your best work at the end rather than the start. And I thought he was somebody who at least calmed the waters when he came in, and there wasn't as much infighting, although, after the Baylor situation, that created some infighting and not really infighting, but virtue signaling from schools and all that. And that was never good because the message wasn't really coming from Bob Bowlsby as much as it was other university presidents that wanted to we have a handle on this situation when everybody. Or like Gary Patterson, just, saying one thing while the program's doing another.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
I remember that.
That wasn't great.
Down south of here.
Yeah. And then the whole, not getting the teams in the playoff when he had the shot to get one of them.
I mean, that was dumb. That was just dumb. I talked about this yesterday. Everybody's, for against playoff expansion or whatever. I'm fine with 12. I think the only way for any leagues to ever catch up to the SEC is to have a shot to actually play them. And I don't mean, Ohio State and Michigan out of the Big Ten every year, or USC or Oregon out of the Pac-12 every year, or, the same schools that are already sitting fat, happy, and have nothing really to worry about. They need a Baylor to get into the playoff. They need an Oklahoma State to get into the playoff. They need a Cincinnati when they're in the Big 12 to get into a playoff. And, the odds of them doing that while there's only 4 teams are incredibly low, as we've seen. The only team to be able to do it is Oklahoma. And you can't tell me for 1 second that they haven't got a little extra bump in the conversations when they've had maybe to decide between some teams. You think Oklahoma's gotten a bump because they're Oklahoma? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think that Baylor or TCU, schools like that, typically get that bump? No, they do not. And so they finally had their opportunity. They had it early on in the playoff. For all we freaking know, TCU that year could have gone in the playoff and won the damn thing. Mm-hmm. Maybe Baylor could have. I mean, their offense at that time, now everybody does it. Now everybody copies it, basically. But at that time, people were, trying to change rules to stop it.
Yeah.
Saban was, trying to change the NCAA rules so that offenses like that couldn't operate. And then now he just adopted it because he realized, oh, well, they're not going to change rules. I'll just do it myself. So it would have been fascinating to see those teams have actually a crack at it. And, I don't know in the end run if he makes the decision and says Baylor's our champion, which they won the head-to-head, if, that gets Baylor into the playoff. For all we know, the committee still would have said, nope, Ohio State, more money, more fans, more all that. Not even about whether they're better or not. It's just more of what we're looking for, which is TV dollars and eyeballs and all that. I mean, who's to say that they would have still gotten in? But the fact that he made no decision and then neither one gets in, yeah, that comes back around to him. Whether it was really his lack of decision or not, that still falls on his shoulders. And it seemed really gutless at the time. And I understand why he explained it the way that he did and why he made the decision that he did, but I still don't agree with it. I still feel like that was the time to stake your ground and just say, look, TCU, this isn't personal. You're a great team. But y'all two played. Y'all played each other. You had a 3-touchdown lead multiple times in this game, and you blew it. So I'm sorry, but no, I'm going to give Baylor the little bump and say, yeah, this is our champion. They won the head-to-head. They ended the season on top of the standings. And again, if it would have made any difference or not, we'll never know. But at least it would have showed something. You think Greg Sankey would have just sat there and said, No, Alabama and Georgia are equal champions. Now, granted, they had the championship game and all that. But in a similar scenario, do you think that would have happened?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. He would have fought tooth and nail to get a team in the playoff, and he would have gone on a rant, and he would have been on SportsCenter, and he would have been on this and that, and would have gotten a team in the playoff somehow or another. Would have politicked. And Bowlsby instead just said, y'all decide. And then what happened? They came up entirely empty. Yeah. So that I understand it, but I will never agree with it.
That was the rhetoric the conference decided on because they were trying to make themselves look better.
Yeah.
And he took too much faith in the fact that it would be like the average people would go, well, that's a damn good point. As opposed to what he did was when they were sitting in the room going, hey, we got to get 4 teams here and we've got 6 that we can choose from. They'd be like, well, this commissioner won't even tell us who the champion of this league is. Why don't we put a demerit in their corner for that?
I mean, I don't know how if you were the committee, you didn't look at the commissioner doesn't even, they played and he doesn't even vouch for one of them. And if I was Bowlsby back then, I mean, I know it's easy in hindsight, but really though, you hear all these conferences talk, especially the SC, about how great they are. But Bob Bowlsby, I would have been trolling the committee. I would have been like, y'all are scared to put Baylor or TCU in the playoff. Y'all are too worried they're going to upset the apple cart that y'all got going on. Y'all's little monopoly over here. Y'all are obsessed with blue bloods. Y'all are afraid to put TCU or Baylor in this tournament. I will never think that was the right decision that was made. I will always feel like he should have pounded home that these smaller brands that you don't want them to have a part of your party because you're afraid they'll beat you. And whether or not that would have been the case, maybe Alabama beats Baylor 50-0, but you know what? They would have gotten the playoff. They would have got that playoff check. They'd have that in their program. They would have had that opportunity. They could have come off a playoff year. Same thing for TCU, but instead they got nothing out of it. They got nothing, and they've never been. And that's,